He lived for his music. Adrian, they called him. A name whispered in concert halls once. Now, it echoed only through his lonely cabin in the woods. Years ago, he sought refuge in the forest's embrace. Its silence was his solace, its solitude a balm for his weary soul. The grand piano, a gift from his past, stood gleaming in the firelight. Its ivory keys held the promise of melodies yet to be born, of stories waiting to be told. Adrian ran his fingers over the worn keys. Each one held a memory, a fragment of his former life. He had loved and lost, soared high and crashed down. The forest had gathered his shattered pieces, holding them safe within its heart. Here, surrounded by towering pines and the whispers of the wind, he found solace. His music became his only companion, the language of his soul. The cabin, small and weathered, was his haven. Sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, illuminating the worn rugs and faded tapestries that adorned the walls. The scent of pine needles and damp earth hung heavy in the air. It was an existence stripped bare, a retreat from the world's clamour. Here, Adrian poured his heart into his music, his fingers dancing over the keys, weaving tales of love and loss, joy and sorrow. Night fell, blanketing the forest in an inky darkness. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the cabin walls. Adrian sat at his piano, his fingers tracing a familiar melody. It was a night like any other, yet something felt different. A stillness hung in the air, a hush that seemed to amplify every creak of the floorboards and rustle of leaves outside. Then he heard it. A sound, faint at first, carried on the night wind. A melody, haunting and beautiful, drifted through the open window. It was unlike anything he had ever heard before. Each note was filled with a profound sadness, a longing that resonated deep within his soul. Adrian stopped playing, his fingers hovering over the keys. He strained to hear, his heart pounding in his chest. The melody swelled, filling the cabin with its mournful beauty. It was as if the forest itself was singing, whispering a tale of forgotten love and unbearable loss. He rose from the piano, drawn to the window by an invisible force. The melody called to him, beckoning him into the night. Adrian hesitated for a moment, a shiver running down his spine. The forest held many secrets, some best left undisturbed. But the melody was intoxicating, its allure impossible to resist. He had to find its source. He stepped out into the night, the cold air biting at his face. The forest floor was dappled with moonlight, the trees casting long, eerie shadows. Adrian followed the sound of the melody, his heart pounding in his chest. The music seemed to lead him deeper and deeper into the woods, away from the familiar path. The trees pressed closer, their branches intertwining overhead, forming a canopy that blocked out the moon. The air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. Adrian could hear the rustle of unseen creatures in the undergrowth, their eyes gleaming in the darkness. Fear pricked at the edges of his mind, but the melody urged him onward. He stumbled over roots and fallen branches, his breath catching in his throat. The music grew louder now, closer. It seemed to emanate from the heart of the forest, beckoning him towards its source. Finally, the trees thinned, and Adrian emerged into a small clearing. The air here felt heavy, charged with an unseen energy. In the center of the clearing stood an ancient oak tree, its gnarled branches reaching towards the sky like skeletal fingers. The melody, he realized, was coming from the base of the tree. Adrian approached the oak cautiously, his heart pounding in his chest. The melody seemed to intensify as he drew closer, wrapping around him like a mournful embrace. He knelt at the base of the tree, his fingers brushing against something cold and hard. It was a metal latch, almost completely hidden by moss and vines. With trembling hands, Adrian cleared away the debris, revealing a small wooden door set into the base of the tree. He hesitated for a moment, his mind racing. What secrets did this ancient place hold? What had compelled him to this spot? Taking a deep breath, he lifted the latch and pulled open the door. Inside, he found a small earthen chamber, barely large enough to stand in. The air was stale and musty, thick with the scent of decay. A single shaft of moonlight pierced through a crack in the ceiling, illuminating a wooden chest that lay open on the floor. Adrian peered inside, his heart skipping a beat. Nestled amongst yellowed lace and crumbling flowers, he saw a leather-bound journal. He gently lifted the journal from the chest, careful not to disturb the other contents. The leather was soft and supple, worn smooth with age. As he opened the cover, a faint scent of lavender wafted up to him. On the first page, written in a flowing script, were the words, "My dearest Thomas, I pen these words with a heavy heart, knowing that our time together is drawing to a close.